Once again, welcome back to our reading room. Upon all the tiredness and the stress of today, I believe we still go alongside with our reading to strengthen our hearts and our bodies. Last time, as we read about desire, in our heart and in our life, we have so many desires. But when we fail to exercise self control, which is the brake system, we definitely end up in misery and distraction. So today, I hope you follow along as I go through the other stories in chapter 2. The couple who could only become divorced because both of them felt that they were great. Once, I was counseling a young woman who had previously been married. The young woman told me that she had gotten divorced 2.5 years ago. I asked her why she got divorced, and she said it was because she did not like her husband's personality. When I hear such things, I cannot help but laugh. If the personalities don't fit, then all you have to do is to them fit. All you have to do is to discuss this with your husband and say, my personality is like this, and your personality is like that. So, why don't we work this out? But if you don't know the world of the heart, you don't want to break your heart and accept the words of your husband. You just want your husband to break his heart to meet your needs. The husband, on his end as well, wants his wife to fit him. Since high hearted people only exalt their own perspectives in this way, people's hearts cannot fit with one another. So I asked her once again, do you have an air conditioner at home? Yes. When you install an air conditioner, it starts to get cold in the beginning. Later on, when the cold air is very strong and it causes you to shiver, do you remove the air conditioner and throw it away? No, I simply adjust it with a remote control, she replied. Suppose you bought a new TV and it was too loud that it blew the whole neighborhood away. Will you throw that TV away? No, I would adjust the volume. I have seen many machines until now, but I have never seen a machine made as well as a human. What kind of machine or what machine is there that is so sophisticated as a human being? No matter how you program or set a boiler, can it always be exactly 98.6 degrees in the building? It is impossible. Where is the boiler inside of a human body? It is in the stomach. Is it in the chest or in the heart? We have no boiler in our bodies, yet we always maintain the same temperature. Boilers use different kinds of fuel like wood, charcoal, kerosene, or gasoline. For example, you cannot use gasoline in a kerosene boiler. However, people can maintain body heat even though they eat ice cream. They can maintain their body heat whether they are eating cabbage or eating rice. I have no idea how we could be so perfect and this perfectly made. When we take a look at this, we can see that man is so sophisticated that man cannot be compared to an air conditioner or a television. So I said to her, we could never compare something as inexpensive as an air conditioner or a television to a human being. But even the cheap air conditioners and televisions have the ability to be adjusted. Then wouldn't humans also have the ability to adjust? The woman just continued to stare blankly at me. I told her, you may not know this, but there it is. Because people do not know that their hearts have the ability to adjust, people who have no reason to be divorced get divorced. The people who have no reason to fight, fight. And the people who had no reason to go to prison end up in prisons. Has your husband remarried? I asked. No, he has not, she replied. I then met her husband later. Compared to his wife, he was a very capable person. He was an upright person who was well known in the community and extremely smart. I told him to reconcile with his wife. I could see that he was very lonely after the divorce. And when I told him to reconcile with his wife, he welcomed the idea. Their children were the happiest about this, and the parents on both sides of the family were also very happy as well. These two people who had lived in unspeakable pain after their divorce now live so happily together. One day, that husband came to me and said, Pastor, do you know why my wife and I got divorced? I heard that it was because you didn't get along with one another. No, that's not why. That was what your wife told me. That's not true. Then why did you get divorced? We were people whose futures could only lead to divorce. I felt that because I was so great that I could live without her. But the bigger problem was that my wife was 5 times greater than I was. Because we both thought we were so great, we only wanted to follow our own opinions. That's why our marriage could only end up in divorce. The next story. People today who live having lost the ability to contemplate. When people don't have the abilities to control themselves, they try to live according to their own will. Then, after they make a few mistakes, they begin to think about how wrong they were. Why did I yield that time? Why was I so narrow minded? How did I make that decision without seriously thinking it through? There are so many people who have such regrets. But if we live our lives however we want, only pain and regret will remain. We have to first think deeply and nurture the ability to control our desires. Nowadays, everyone is so busy that there is no time or room to think deeply about anything. And through the advancement of the entertainment business, TV, and computer games, people only reach the first level of thought. They are unable to get to the second level of thought. A long time ago, The people of China and Korea enjoyed playing Chinese chess. There was competition between the Han dynasty and then the Qing dynasty. In this game, there is the king, the advisor that protects the king, and the chariots, the cannon, the horse, the elephants, and the regular soldiers. These two nations battle on the chessboard, and as they play, the two players must think deeply. When the enemy's elephant comes forward, you must start to think, why did it come forward? It's going to get killed by the chariots. Ah, he has a cannon behind this piece waiting to strike. This is how players think as they play the game, move by move. They try one strategy and then they try a different one. When each player thinks deeply about what his or her opponent will do, then there is the mental or psychological fight. It even comes to the point where others watch thinking, where are the two chess players? Why are the chess pieces not moving? If you mindlessly play chess according to how things appear in your eyes, then you will quickly fall victim to the trap that the enemy has set up for you. You must first observe the plan of the enemy and then act accordingly. Julio, the drug addict that I spoke about in the first chapter, did drugs for 20 years, but he did not think deeply at all. Without any thought, whenever he could get money, he would do drugs. While living like this, he ate a spoiled bread one day and fell into a thought. How did I even become a drug addict? Why do I live like this, unable to eat food that is good? I just live as a lonely man without ever owning my own car or house. If he had just a few dollars, he would buy and eat warm food. Since he spent all his money on drugs, he found himself picking out the spoiled bread from the trash. For the first time in his life, he began to realize just how pathetic he was. If I become ill, then who will take me to the hospital? If I die, who will mourn for me? Thinking about the situation that he was in is what helped him to truly understand how pitiful he really was. Had Julio not thought deeply about this, he would have lived the rest of his life as a drug addict. And that is how his life would have ended up. After thinking deeply, a completely different heart entered him. That heart changed his life. When he re entered Rehab, it was only then that the words of the counselor began to enter his heart. He followed the words of the counselor and was able to break free from drugs. We need to monitor our children's recreational activities as well. While it is important to allow young children to play hard outside, we must also have them develop the ability to reason through games that make them think. In Tetris, If you place the falling pieces in the correct angles and empty slots, then those perfectly filled lines disappear. That's the kind of a game it is. At first, the shapes are coming down slowly, so it is easy to fit them into the spaces without any gaps or empty slots. Later on, though, they pour down like rain and you have no time or space to think at all. Your hands have to move according to your instincts. These days, you cannot think deeply to play games. You have to just react quickly with your senses. But when you play such games for a long time, it deteriorates your ability to reason. It is along these lines that TV has been called the idiot's box. If I say this, some people may say, how can you say such a thing? Do you know how much we can learn from TV? It is true that you can get a wide variety of information and knowledge through television, but it keeps us from being able to think deeply. Think about it. When you are reading a different book and you don't understand its meaning, you have to read it two or three times in order to understand. But with television, even though you change the channel abruptly, if you watch for only 5 minutes, you can understand the storyline. You don't have to think about it deeply. You can understand it even when you eat, and even while you eat. Even though you wake up in the middle of sleeping, half awake, as you watch the television while rubbing your eyes, you can still understand everything. There is no one who strains the brain trying to understand television. So, when you watch television often, it may be fun, but because you are only dealing with things that are easily understood, it continually weakens your ability to reason. Later on, you end up turning into a person who cannot think. When you cannot think, whenever you face things in life, you just run into it thoughtlessly without detailed preparation. You just try it and see what happens. People like this often end up falling into the wrong path. So, we'll end our reading here for today and continue in our next reading room. I hope to see you there. And as we read today, most at times we are unable to flow with the other person around us. Why? Because we are all wise and we think we are all smart. Thus, it becomes very difficult to flow alongside with the other person. But when I see myself to be weaker than the other person, then I can adjust and tune in to fit the person more. In this way, we can relate to people around us so easily without any grudge or misunderstanding. Thank you for being with me today. And don't forget, a week without reading weakens our brain. So till I meet you in my next reading room, it's a bye bye.